We're going to start things off over here. As you can see, I got a display cabinet with a lot of pieces of railroad history, such as manuals from railroads such as Conrail. There's even one from the Pennsylvania Railroad dated 1944, which means that was steam era. Another Pennsylvania Railroad, Penn Central. I've got a little thing from the Ohio Railroad Museum, a few blueprints for layouts and stuff, Hocking Valley brochure. That's a map of all the railroads in Ohio and a track scale comparison, as well as an N-scale locomotive with its train on display. Over on this side, not much, just a bunch of, info about model trains and whatnot. There's a bit of a model train size scale here. I'll give you some time to look at that. A few drawings I did when I was younger. There's one of the Erie Railroad triplex. Sorry about that piece of tape in the way. And a few signs here and there. Over here, there's also a New York Central system sign. And let's go work our way over to the layouts, but first we're going to talk about this. This is just kind of a little display cabinet I got recently. We'll go ahead and open it up here. Just a few of my oldest locomotives. Right here is the oldest one I have, which was built in 1934. It is a Lionel 1681E locomotive. It is missing a few parts, such as the front trucks and the headlight, but that doesn't matter to me. It did run when I first got it, but it needs some work. Next to that, there's a Commodore Vanderbilt Marks engine. Just, tin, like this one. Not much going on, not a ton of detailing. New York Central, of course. Pretty neat, and it works really good. I'll probably make a video about this. I actually did make a video about this one. This is my Lionel New York Central 221 Dreyfuss Hudson. I will put a link in the description to the video about that. Anyways, down here we have some American Flyer pieces, such as a whistling billboard. That's actually the horn variety of whistling billboard. Down here is one of my American Flyer engines. I picked it up off a marketplace for just 35 bucks. It didn't run when I first got it, but I restored it, and now it's working fine. A historic American Flyer box back there, as well as another one up here, and a log dump car, which does still work. And now we're going to work our way over to the S-gauge. The transformers I usually use. Little Lionel transformer, forget what that's called. American Flyer transformer, also kind of forget what that's called. It's really old, and it works really well still. 2 tracks right now, but there will be a third one. Here is a log loader. The log car kind of goes with that. A whistling billboard. This is the whistling variety. There's a few things on the table. It's a little messy because I am still working on it. There's a whistling station there. It's a little bit of a newer digital one. I've got to download the sounds onto that eventually, but if I can't, it's still a good thing to have. I was able to pick it up really cheap because the instructions weren't with it, but that's kind of an issue. That the instructions aren't with it. But anyways, there's another little bit of a station here. Plasticville Diner. I'm starting to get started on some buildings. Little light tower there, a few buildings there, hospital, and there's some kind of garage there. I actually got that in the lot that someone I know sent in. There's a video about that. I'll also link in the description. And there's another little house over there. There's still some more buildings I'm working on putting together, but it'll take some time for me to get all the pieces. Just a few vehicles that I'm eventually going to use on it. Right here are some of my American Flyer locomotives. This is an Atlantic number 300 for the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. I estimated this to be built sometime in between 1953 and 1956. There's also a lot of post-war era freight cars with it. As you can see here, that caboose is actually pre-1952 because it originally had link couplers. I can tell because the couplers were replaced. And right here is a GP7 switcher locomotive I picked up for 125 bucks at a nearby hobby store in Clintonville, Ohio. It was in fairly good condition for its age. It is also after 1952 since the knuckle couplers are in fact original. A few more cars from that one lot I mentioned that the buildings came from. Then again, link in description. Well, at least that car was. That one right there. That one was eBay, and that one was another hobby store. So now we're going to work our way over to the O-gauge table. It is, of course, winter themed. There are some ski lodges up there. A few like sledders and skiers in the woods, whatnot. A few animals, etc., etc. A lot of trees. A little bit of a farm here. some farm equipment and whatnot out there. This was given to me by a friend of my dad's. He just kind of picked this up somewhere. I kind of forget the story on it. That was from a hobby store. That is a Marks Crossing, not Lionel, but it still fits pretty well. And I got some ceramic buildings, which at least a few of them are lighted. And I use Modern Track for now. I might eventually get another O-gauge layout. I don't know. Another farm over here, a few buildings. There's the town right there. Pause if you want to check out more detail. Here's one of my locomotives. It is it's a Lionel Hudson, number 2056. Sorry if it's kind of dark. I got a few cars I picked up over the years here, etc., etc. Some of them are new, some of them are older. Just kind of a mixture between the two. There's a little bit of a steam locomotive on display here. That's a newer era Lionel. Now over here to the shelf, I have these beautiful B&O passenger cars that go with these two locomotives here. Those unfortunately do not run very well at the time as they need new traction tires. Made a video about that. I'll try to put a link in the description. It might take a while for me to add them in. That was from a hobby store, not sure what it is. That is a Lionel Scout locomotive. Of course, it's a newer one. That was also hobby store, everything else. This was from another big lot, that $200 lot I got. I did not make a video about that because that was before this channel really got started. It's a Marks 333 Pacific type steam locomotive. I am the original owner of that. That came in a set. It was a Menards freight train. There's a video about that, link in description. And that is my Berkshire post-war Lionel locomotive. That's not the original tender. If I do a video about that, I will explain. Up there's a few more railroad artifacts and a few Lionel things. We'll talk about that next. So up here, this is an original spike from the 3C Railroad. There will one day be a video more about these. That's the Western Railroad Supply Company. I may have mentioned in one of my 3C project videos. An insulator that I bought that at a hobby store. More spikes, coal from back there. A few commemorative mugs. As you can see, those were from train shows over the years. And another old that actually is a Lionel signal. A few old and new Lionel boxes right there. Another 3C spike. Some 10 pre-war era Lionel freight cars. That insulator actually was found back at the 3C area. A few more boxes. An old oil can. And now working down here, we have another pre-war tanker. Some more things here. This was actually just kind of craft made. I did not make it. I picked it up in an antique store. More pre-war Lionel stuff. Pre-war Lionel water tower. Those cars actually go with my oldest locomotive, as you saw in the display case over there. And these are all Marks 10 cars. Pause if you want to see them more in depth. More Lionel cars down there. I just picked this up for $1. Thought it was kind of neat. And there's just some more Lionel stuff, as well as some different things that I decided to collect. That's actually an HO scale transformer, but it's kind of old, and I figured it kind of looks nice there. However, I might move that. And pause if you want to see this stuff here, just more random Lionel and Marks stuff. There's a video about that. Try to put a link in the description. And we'll move on to this now. This was found at the 3C line when we were back there. Union, I forget what it says. Union Switch and Signal Company. So it had something to do with signals. And that's an old Lionel popcorn tin. The popcorn actually still is inside. I've heard about people having these before, and that's not uncommon for them to still have that. It was made in sometime in the 80s or 90s, so that shows you how old the popcorn is inside. So I'm not going to open it, but somebody out there who has one of the other ones may have opened it, but I'm not sure. And up here, we just have a few old BB guns. That's another thing we like to collect, whatnot. And that right there is a homemade sailboat of some kind. A friend of my dad's from when he was a kid made that. Besides that, I don't know much about it. Just a few things over here on this bookshelf. Old Coca-Cola bottle, etc., etc. I'm probably getting a little too detailed about certain things. let's move on to the American Flyer shelf. Another insulator from the 3C line, not in the best of shape. A lantern up there. More American Flyer boxes. Another insulator of some kind, an old handbell that was actually a school bell of some kind. This was my first American Flyer S-Gauge engine. There might be a more in-depth video about that at some point. Here's the Pacific from that lot that the guy I know sent to me. And there's my Hudson locomotive. Definitely a video about this at some point, because that is a very special locomotive for me. There's a lot of sentimental value there. American Flyer, post-war freight cars. Some of them were from the lot I just mentioned earlier that the Pacific locomotive was from. There's an old caboose down there. My only two American Flyer passenger cars, a pre-war American Flyer O-Gauge car. That's also post-war. It has been converted to O-Gauge, not by me. That came with the log loader off of eBay. Some more Coke bottles and just some random empty boxes. Moving on. Got an American flag in the window. Thought it would look kind of nice from outside, and it does. I got that at a yard sale. It's an old school double buck saw. That'd be nice to have on the 3C project. Anyways, it's still quite sharp, I'd say. It's pretty rusty. It's an antique. Looks good on display. There's an old wooden vise there. There will be more added to this wall at some point, and here was my first N-scale table, which is just kind of being used to store stuff right now. It needs some restoration work, but I might get to that in the future and maybe make a few videos about it. HO scale layout. Don't judge it too much. This part over here I made when I was really little. That's why it's not quite that practical. I have the most of my stuff is HO. However, O-Gauge is quickly growing, and so is S-Gauge now, and even N-scale. This is my Rivarossi Y6B number 2197. It says Pennsylvania. Not sure if it's supposed to or somebody did that custom. A Tyco Illinois Central Gulf number 1102 high hood locomotive. Not sure what kind it is. A few random cars. You've probably seen some of them in my previous videos. Once again, that lot I mentioned earlier. And we'll get over to some of my HO scale locomotives and collectibles now. Just a lot of things I've collected over the years. That is a Spirit of 76 that actually belonged to my dad, from what I remember, and I think the caboose did as well. There is, I picked that up at a train show, hobby store, whatnot. These are just some of my featured locomotives, so to speak. Athearn blue boxes. A few other little boxes on display, signs, whatnot. You get the idea. That is actually a Super Bowl Express. I received the set from a friend of mine who graciously sent it to me a long time ago. Once again, long before I had this channel. A few other miscellaneous signs I just kind of put up there for looks, you know. Anyways, getting over to the next. This is the rest of my rolling stock and locomotives. These came out of that big $200 lot I told you about, once again, before I had the channel. My brother's channel was around. Unfortunately, we did not get around to making a video about it. A lot of my diesel locomotives here, as you can see. Nothing too special. Bachmann Southern Pacific 484 number 4454. A lot of you might remember that. Bachmann Union Pacific number 806 locomotive. Sorry, they're kind of just messily stacked up. I'm running out of shelf space. And there'll probably be reviews on a lot of these locomotives. Review on that on my brother's channel. Link in description. I'll try to edit it in. It may take a while though, so if you're still watching this, you might not see it right away. All my rolling stock. Pause if you wanna look. Cabooses down there, moving over to tankers and whatnot. The shelf needs some organization, I do know. I've been trying to get this video out for a while now though. These are not my locomotives. These belong to my brother. Some little shunter steam engines and a few project engines here. This one here actually is one of my brother's too. I thought I should mention that real quick. Over here at the workbench right now, this is what I do all my editing on. Yes, I'm aware the screen is cracked. It's been like that for a while. This is what you see most of my rail fanning videos come from. I'm using my dad's phone right now because it's got a little bit of a better camera. A few projects there. That's next. Repair video coming soon. all my tools. My workbench is a little bit messy. I do know I have a few projects going on. There's a few more locomotives back there and whatnot. A lot of my short videos have been filmed using this, except for the recent ones. All the 3C videos have been filmed using that, and there will be more expected on that soon as well. Over here, just a shelf for random stuff, random buildings. I actually kind of made this myself out of broken pieces of the building and just kind of came up with something. A few classic buildings back there, not in the best of shape. Those are our future projects, of course. Just a random place for me to set my tools and whatnot, and boxes of stuff for the layouts. And now we're going to move on to the N-scale layout. Not a lot going on here yet, but I am still working on it. Not much progress on this, unfortunately. Hopefully soon, when I get back to work, I can start saving up some money and then put a little bit aside to do a little bit with model trains as well. 2 tracks right now. It's going to probably stay at 2 tracks. There will be mountains eventually with another track on the top, however. You may have seen my video about those and that, and you may have seen my video where I explain about cutting the river out. When I start working on it, I'll make some tutorial videos about how to build mountains and whatnot. Forget what that locomotive's called. Bought some passenger cars. They're Penn Central, but they kind of fit with it. That's a Southern locomotive. Burlington SD9 or SD7 there. I'm pretty sure it's an SD7. Some random freight cars I purchased over the years. Train shows, hobby stores, whatnot. Of course, now you can see all my buildings. Pause if you want to see detail, of course. A few cars there. I'm not sure why this is sitting over here by itself. Train show, 55 bucks. Definitely worth it. Runs great. I know I'm talking pretty fast. I'm just trying to save time here so this video does not get too out of hand. There might be a more in-depth tour someday, but stay tuned for that, of course, if it does come out. That just about wraps everything up, however. I'd like to thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you wish. Please check out my other videos. And if you really want to, if you know somebody's in the model trains, maybe tell them about this channel. I don't know how much they're going to be interested in it or not, but I don't know. If you do want to, it really helps. I'd like to say this will hopefully get fixed soon, so don't worry too much. And this map has been on the wall for a while. As you can probably tell, it is outdated by a while.